Good evening. Black dignity. Black dignity, education reform, and the idea of homeschool for blacks, or blacks that are homeschooling, or blacks who are taking proactive measures to protect our kids, our families, our communities, and our generations. Viable steps have been made by brave and sacrificial parents who have said enough is enough. We're tired of the mediocrity at the public school level, at the private school level. The other day you had a private school in New York, in Bronxville, have an assignment or a project called slave auction. So who in their right mind thought that that was a good idea? Didn't they have to turn in lesson plans 2 weeks in advance at a private school? So what are the mechanisms in place to determine academic excellence? So the community has to demand. They're already asking the legal eagles to look into whether or not rights have been violated for free and public. Rights were violated for free and public education. Even though it's a charter school, even if it's a private school, you still have to follow the rules. So why is homeschooling booming? There have been articles. Why are people deciding to take their kids either out of the homeschool or start with the homeschool? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? Because every day there's an article talking about the increase of parents keeping their kids at home for a number of reasons. Whether it's the bullying, whether it's the inadequacies with academic excellence, whether it's the inability for the school district to supply that parent or that student with the proper needs, and don't dumb down the curriculum, which is about what? High stakes testing, bullying, saying you are 100% zero tolerance. And so I applaud the parents who have made that decision. I applaud the parents because at the end of the day, you are responsible for what your kids learn or don't learn. You are responsible for them being educated or miseducated. Because if they go to a public school, they will not be taught real history. They will be taught his story. And remember, his story is always the one who won the battle or the war. Either one. And so we have to be cognizant of that. History is comprehensive. It doesn't make sense when you take out African excellence in Timbuktu, African excellence in the Ghana Kingdom, I hope most of you know about Mansa Musa, the richest man in history all the way up to today. When you take all the gold that he had and you put it in today's dollars, this brother is the richest brother in history. Facts. And today we are killing each other over paper. The brother was telling you back in the day, what is real money? He didn't say anything about paper dollars. Real money has to be weighed. That's why what? The richest man, the richest black man in the history of the world comes from Africa, West Africa. And on his trip to Mecca and along the route, he actually affected many of the economies because he was giving away gold. And that's what we do. We give away money. And he did it out of the kindness of his heart on his way to Mecca. We had the same brothers to these days, they probably wouldn't be on a pilgrimage that way. They would be doing something else with the money. But the point is what? We have to take control of our education. And we can't have excuses. So we have to develop our own curriculum that the parents see fit and follow the rules in your particular state and make sure we make that happen. Public schools are saying what? The average daily attendance is about the money. It's about the Benjamins. They don't want you to take your kid out of the schools because it takes away money from the public school. So they're thinking more about the budget than about your son or your daughter. Whether they need regular classes or whether they need special ed classes or services, that is the issue. It's about the money. And it's about making sure that many of our brothers and sisters that are taught in these schools are funneled into special education so they can get more money. Not to say that's the case for all schools, but I'm saying we are overdiagnosed and overlabeled. If you don't believe me, go to a school and see who is put in most of the special education classes around the country. Who's giving drugs? And so those are the issues. This is not the first time, it won't be the last. What do we need to do? We need to be proactive with how we will educate our kids, our families, our communities. We've given public education, what, decades? Since Brown versus Board of Education, since Plessy versus Ferguson, separation is inherently unequal. Come on now. When we divided our people, when we divided the community, when we divided those economic resources, we divided our sense of social, economic, political, educational power to beg for us to go and sit next to someone that hated you. And those same people had kids and they're being taught, not all of them, but some are being taught to hate you. And that same hatred is coming back up. It is rearing its head. What do we do? What will you do with your kids' future education? When we say read to achieve, it's going to take that. Kids going to have to start doing more reading from a book than trying to read online. You can't learn a basketball. You can't learn football. You can't just do all that stuff online. We got to go back to the roots. There's a reason why they passed laws during slavery. No reading, no writing. That's because that is our history. We are known for being the intellectuals. We are known for being logicians. The Europeans sat and we educated them. And then we allowed them to come in and conquer us. And they're still trying to conquer us. Can't be about war, but it is war. It's war for our minds. If you don't believe me, check the Freedom of Information Act. And look at what many of the administrators have stated about dividing black people. Facts. Do what we need to do for our kids and our people. It's going to take us collectively through solidarity to make a change. Public schools had their time. Look, time is time. Show me that black people, because of public education, are now valedictorians. Show me that you are preventing the school to prison pipeline. Show me that the same superintendents over many of these black schools are actually talking about the school to prison pipelines. And what is their solution? Because when you go to those same prisons and ask them, what school did you go to? Give us a summary of your opinion. They'll say what? The school doesn't care about them. So we have to change our mindset. We have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And we have to look at those that are in superintendent positions. Quiet when you talk about police brutality. Quiet when you talk about changing the curriculum to fit the community and being innovative. Why are they so quiet when they're making most of the money? They're making all of the money. They are the CEO of the district. And they're doing what? Selling our kids a product that's sending them straight to penal institutions. Now that is going from the particular and inferring the general. Now you do have some exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, come on now. Incarceration nation. Either those superintendents, the black one, all of them, either you are part of the solution or you are part of the problem. If you don't believe me, ask them to pull how many prisoners in their local area are reflected or were former students from their programs. What are they doing? And are they helping to come up with innovative ways when they do get out to give them other educational opportunities? If they're not doing that, come on now, we have to help. And so time is now. I've heard enough and I've listened to enough of the experts talk about our kid, our people. And the time is now. So we're going to have them account for solutions and pool some of that money to help some of our people. And if you don't believe me, in some of the poorest areas are where a lot of those administrative buildings reside. So how you gonna pass a homeless person that went to your school, went to your school district, and you're not doing anything to help? And you going in eating 5-star meals and comfortable. Indignation. Ridiculousness. Power to our people. Doing it the right way. Education. Holding leaders accountable. Even though many are Uncle Toms. Even though we don't want to call them names. But you have to call a spade, and you have to call leaders that have decided to not be a part of the solution to be part of the problem. We don't have A, B, and C. It's just A and B, brothers and sisters. Okay, so you got to choose one. Can't be riding the fence. Okay, you got to bubble one of those answer choices in. Okay, and so this is high stakes testing. You're going to either have to be for the race or against the race. One love.